Oh,
There we go.
sirens.
Oh, you can hear that? All right. So we are now recording. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, did it not tell you?
No, I'm not seeing anything on my screen. Well, let me start by saying good morning and welcome to the inaugural podcast for Experiencing the Divine, brought to you by Joy and Michelle. And what we're hoping to do here is invite people who are spiritually minded. They know that they're on the path, they're aware of it, they're conscious of it, to join us in an ongoing conversation about how that looks for you, what your experience has been around your awakening process, your ascension process. And we hope that we hope a couple of things for everybody who's participating. One is that you understand it's a messy process. It's not linear, it's not written down, it's not codified anywhere. It's a messy process, and you'll see that in the discussion between Michelle and I, and that it's different for everybody. So there's not one way to do this. And we're hoping that as a community, we can come together and share those experiences. So, Michelle, what would you like to say?
Hi, welcome. Thanks for being here. I hope that this is the beginning of many wonderful, expansive, and creative conversations that we can have as a community and global connection, communion, and citizenship.
And one of the other things that I really liked that Michelle was talking about was the support of the group for each other and through navigating this process, because it's not always an easy process. It's not always graceful. Certainly that's been my experience. I'm not very graceful as I trip my way through a lot of these things. And we're hoping through what we've learned by getting to where we are that maybe we can help make it a little bit easier, a little bit more graceful for some other people as well. So we're hoping to set our time limit at a 30-minute podcast. We're going to begin starting by doing it twice a month and hopefully expand into that. And today's topic, given what's going on in the nation and up in the White House and the Hill, and along with all the protests, is we'd like to talk about the law of attraction. We think it's a pretty great place to start, given everything that is going on. So we have our experience around law of attraction is a little bit different than mainstream. And we would like the mainstream stuff most people know. They've been exposed to. They know certain things about The Secret and Abraham Hicks' law of attraction. But we feel there's so much more to it, and that it can be utilized in a much more powerful way than just trying to attract things to us. And so we would like to move into that space with people. So, Michelle, do you want to start talking about defining the law of attraction for us, or your definition of it?
Sure. I guess the short definition would be the law of attraction is the idea that our thoughts, our feelings, and our focus can and do manifest and bring to us what aligns and harmonizes with those thoughts, feelings, and focuses in such a way that it is a vibrational match. And in that way, basically being a frequency connection rather than like an idea or concept. It's not really about the concepts, and it's not really about the items, how big they are, how small they are, how complicated they are, but it's more about a vibrational connection and match of sorts with those items, thoughts, feelings, and desires.
I love that. And one of the things that I've experienced myself is that it took me a while as I started looking at law of attraction is I thought, okay, I'm going to project, I want this thing. So I know that if I think about it, it will be sent out to the universe, it will be created, and it will be sent back to me. But what it took me a while to understand is that every thought I have is a creation of something. And that's what took me a long time to recognize, is that you don't have to do it deliberately. It's happening all the time. The power behind the law of attraction is understanding that if you can focus your thoughts and direct them, you can get different outcomes. And that to me is a very misunderstood piece of the law. People set aside 5 minutes a day in their meditation, and they focus on the thing that they want, or a person that they want, or a job or a car or a house or whatever. But they don't realize that they have been sending messages out to the universe 23 hours, and whatever during the day, and they forget about all of those things that they've sent out as well.
Mm-hmm. Completely. And I guess that brings us to the Hermetic Laws, the idea of what those intricacies are of the thought patterns that we do and how those align with the laws that we work with in the universe, which are considered or said Hermetic laws. So
So the Hermetic Laws is where the law of attraction comes from.
basically,
Okay, so we know it as law of attraction, and in a kind of a popular sense, but this idea has been around historically for thousands of years, right?
yes. The earliest that they have in that is the Corpus Hermeticalium, which was translated beginning of 2nd century or earlier. That's the earliest that they have it in there. So it is ancient knowledge and stuff that's been written down.
And so what do you have on the screen is what?
These are, as we can see, basically the Hermetic laws going on, and little quotes that are with them, a little bit of information about how the Hermetic laws kind of became widely distributed, if you will, was in 1977, and it is called the Kybalion, and it was first published in 1908. And in 1877, which I think is a really interesting parallel, like, 100 years later or whatever, or before, the law of attraction, that quote, the law of attraction, appeared in print for the first time in a book written by the Russian occultist Helena Blavatsky. So I thought that was very interesting that 100 years later, the Kybalion is basically printed. But
And is the Kabbalion come from the Kabbalah?
the Kabbalah, it's associated with the Kabbalah, but not exactly the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is a religious text that is referred to, I believe, more in the Hebrew lineage or whatnot. So, and that has to do with things that are kind of similar. It does have to do with alchemy. It does have to do with sacred understandings, the tree of life, all of that kind of stuff is within the Kabbalah. And the Kabbalion is mostly talking about the Hermetic laws and how that applies. So it's similar, but I believe, no, Hermetic. Hermetic is about hidden, but I don't really know what the Kabbalah means.
Because I think the Kabbalah is the Kabbalah is the mystical book of the Jewish faith.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where the occultist piece comes in. And in our today's culture, the occult is thought of as negative witchcraft, or a lot of negative kinds of connotations around that. And the occult has been practiced forever.
Right. It's I think it's older than religion itself, really. It's just
Right.
the exploration of mysticism and what's around us. And a lot of times it also incorporates science. So,
And it's funny how today mysticism, at least in the circle that I travel in, is perfectly acceptable, but occult is still perceived as negative.
yeah, right.
It's it's fascinating to me that we're I don't know, that we put things in so many, we like to label and put things in little cubicles.
Yeah. Okay, so the first principle is the principle of mentalism. The quote is, "The all is mind, the universe is mental." Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I get that one from, I'm a Course in Miracles gal from way back, and that's one of the major principles in the Course in Miracles, the Science of Mind texts. If you're familiar with Science of Mind, I think Unity Church does those, and I want to say Emerson, Thoreau, all the transcendentalists from, or if you took them in your junior year in high school for in American literature, it's the same concept that your thoughts are things and that everything is thought. And if we would pay more attention to what we're thinking and learn to direct those, then things would turn out differently. But that everything is the result of what we're thinking. Is that what you get out of that?
Yes. Also, our reality is what we think. So, what we think about something is what we experience. So, if we are afraid of a dog per se, someone else might not be afraid of that dog and is enjoying the dog's company. And our reality is this horror being near this dog that, has the potential to hurt us. And that's kind of how we experience everything. That, in general, everything is a neutral experience until we apply what we think about it. So once we
Hmm.
have an idea about it and think, oh, I like that or I don't like that, that changes the entire experience for what we have.
That so happened to me Thursday afternoon. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Principle of correspondence. I struggle with this one.
Okay. The quote is, "As above, so below, as below, so above, as within, so without, as without, so within." So when we think about correspondence, we think about relationship, we think about communication, we think about result, how things are responding or interacting. In my opinion, that's what I think about with correspondence. I throw something out there, what comes back? Um, as above, so below is an old thought of basically, and it kind of goes into fractal universe, mirror experience, the idea that everything is a reflection. So as as I as I fear the dog fears me.
Mm.
As I exist, as I breathe, the universe breathes with me. As I think of God, God thinks of me. These kind of things, and that's just part of it. And then there is also the part of experience, the as above, so below experience, that is, okay, taking the dog again. I am fearful of the dog. The fear has come from somewhere. Wherever that fear has come from, it's like a reverberation into the universe, and that is reverberating back into my experience. So I will continue to have further experiences that reinforce my fear of dogs. I will hear a dog growling more often than maybe the average person, or I may, watch movies that have aggressive dogs in it or whatever, and it reinforces my experience. And then the whole idea of as above, so below is that as I am working on myself, as I am trying to better myself, as I am trying to align with the universe is working with me to align with me, to give me the experiences that I am seeking, because that is the correspondence, that's the relationship. So everything in effect happens to us because we are asking for it. It is our relationship with it. And it is not a victim mentality such as it's happening to us to punish us. The dog is growling at us at this moment to reinforce our fear. And when we step back from that idea, going back to the idea of mentalism, that everything is in my mind. So I am experiencing this dog growling. I can take a moment and say, okay, is that dog growling at me to attack me, or is it my energy that's being put out there, my fear of that dog he is responding to? this kind of stuff. So when we take a moment to think where we are, what we're doing, and how that is affecting our environment, we have a moment of, if you will, control or decision or choice in a circumstance to basically make a different experience happen.
And one of the things I think you taught me when you were just mentioning it's not there to punish us, is that sometimes it's there to show us you're being fearful and you don't need to be. So you might want to rethink the way you're handling that.
Well, exactly. It's your choice to have, if you will, the correspondence with the relationship with the universe in a fearful way, in an angry way, in a resistant way, or in a loving, accepting, compassionate way. These are our choices, but it has to be cultivated through our mind. We have to be able to understand, A, what is compassion? What is surrender? What is love? How do I experience that in my everyday life when life is not showing me that? Such as, what we're experiencing right now, is that idea, and kind of going against basically what we think we're seeing.
Or why we're seeing it. Like
Yes.
I said, for years, I thought I was being punished. And you
Yes.
pointed out to me, it's like, no, no, no. It's just trying to show you areas where you need to pay attention to what you're thinking and sending out.
Yes.
And I certainly see that what we're going through now is the culmination of the collective thinking, the anger, the pain, the suffering. And it's definitely coming back to us in this huge tsunami wave.
Yes.
Okay, how about the principle of vibration? To me, that seems that should be right up there. That should be number 2. But
Nothing rests.
I guess they're not ranked, in order.
Not really. Not really. They're just, yeah. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. So for me, this is the idea of atoms. This is the idea of matter. This is the idea that everything has a frequency. Everything is in a relationship with each other, again, from just the scientific standpoint. And again, keeping in mind, this is like second century stuff. I believe this was before the discovery of atoms and all of that. But in that way that we talk about atoms, and I know that the way we were taught isn't exactly true anymore, but the idea of it, that the little atom is vibrating with energy, everything is moving. And when we think about that more in an expansive way, and that kind of goes into the whole idea of rhythm as well, but the vibration that everything is interacting, everything is moving, everything is talking with one another on a very base vibrational language.
And for me, that ties in with the law of attraction, because whatever frequency I'm vibrating at, that's what I'm going to attract to me. So if I have a low vibration, if I'm vibrating at a low frequency, through anger, hate, disappointment, victimhood, martyr, I'm going to draw that to me, versus being able to lift myself up out of that. Then nicer, gentler, kinder, more wonderful, joyous things will be attracted to me, because like attracts like. And to me, that number 3 is a huge piece of the law of attraction. And the Hermetic Laws don't ever really mention law of attraction, which I think is fascinating.
Right. Well, these are just laws. They're not conceptualizing what that all means. They're just separating and telling you what the laws of the universe are.
Right. Which I didn't even know these things existed.
And the other piece of that too, that I like the idea that you had just said a moment ago about, like, well, if I don't like it, or that experience that I'm having, like I'm experiencing that over, I'd like to mention the thing about the dog again. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get completely out of fear. It just means the vibration needs to just be adjusted in increments away from the thought of fear to have a different experience with that dog. And that's basically what we do. But most of the time, because we are conditioned in such a way to hang on to more negative experiences, this is what teaches us. So we hang on to these negative experiences. It just reinforces more of the negative experiences because that's what we think we expect. Dog is
Mhm.
growling. Last time that happened, I got my face bitten. So that's what's going to happen again. Instead of thinking, okay, in that moment that my face got bitten, I needed to be shown not to, be so close to a dog, or to listen to its growling, or whatever, to apply some rationale to the experience rather than the idea of the emotional triggering of, oh God, that dog's going to bite me again.
Mhm.
So, uh,
And I've just started practicing this, and I have to say, it's taken me a while to stop myself from whatever negative thing I'm caught up in, but man, is it powerful.
mm,
If you can just stop the role that you're on and go, whoops, stop, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this again. I keep doing this. I need to know that that's not what's going on. And I've had it twice in the last couple of days, and it has been it just powerfully changes what I'm experiencing. So I'm excited to start working on that one more.
right on, right on. And at the end of this, we'll have some suggestions to help and support that. Um, I'm going to go through these. I'm going to start accelerating because I think we're a little behind.
Okay.
The principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles, and everything has a pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled.
That's an exciting one. And what it tells me is that everything's on a continuum. There's nothing right or wrong, good or bad. It's just everything's on a continuum. And when we do an episode where we cover these, I can't wait to talk about that because I've recently been understanding that better as well.
Excellent. Yes, and that's going to be 2 weeks from now, probably
Yeah,
on
let's do that.
a Tuesday. Um, okay, so everything being dual, yes, like you say, everything is on a continuum. Everything you experience for all of the fear that you have towards the dog, there's also equal and opposite love that is capacity for the dog, or whatever you may see fear. They say love is the opposite of fear, and those are reconcilable. You can love and be fearful at the same time. These are experiences that we can have, and they don't they're not they're not destructive forces. They're harmonizing forces, basically.
And I like the Kabbalions' explanation of it. One of the things that I know I've experienced through my life long before I knew anything about this stuff was they talked about it. A lot of it feels like it's a paradox, but they're reconcilable paradoxes. And I found that to be true. Almost every paradox is reconcilable, or at
Yes.
least that's just been my experience because I seem to experience a lot of paradox.
Yes.
So that's going to be a fun one to talk about.
Yes. Next one is the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall.
And that one confused me because it feels very much like the vibration one. So I have a hard time separating that. It also feels like it ties in with the correspondence because it's responding. So that would be also be a rhythm. So I'm anxious to hear you talk about that one more when we get to it.
Just in general, rhythm is about everything is temporary. Everything ebbs and flows. Everything has its own flow of things that it does. And so as we experience the world, it's to me it's comforting because I might think that that moment with that dog is taking forever, but it will eventually flow out like water. It will eventually release. So when I am in that moment and I'm feeling that panic, but I'm choosing to put myself mentally somewhere else, the beauty of the rhythm is that it is a law, will change. that experience will change. It will manifest into something different because of the rhythm of the universe. It is in a constant flow. So
I like the concept that it's in a constant flow, because that means I don't have to continue the path that I'm on.
right.
That's salvation for me.
Yes, it's very comforting. I like that one.
Yeah.
Okay, next one.
Yeah.
Principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. It's pretty self-explanatory.
I think it's very self-explanatory as well. However, we may want to get into depth on that, because I work with young people, and as a high school English teacher, we talk about, when we're writing, we talk about cause and effect. And I am flabbergasted by how many people struggle with this concept. So I'm looking forward to discussing this one. And even when we get to the place where we open up on Zoom and we have people calling in, I would love to hear people's take on that and their questions around it. Because, like you, it seems very self explanatory to me, but there are a lot of people who seem to struggle with that.
I think counterforce also falls into this, which I'm fascinated by counterforce. I love watching basically physics in play. It's it's fascinating to me. But yeah, I don't think we'll spend much time on that now, because I think we both understand that. Okay. And the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles.
And again, when I read the Kabbalions' explanation around this, I was fascinated to see what they labeled feminine, what they labeled masculine, because it didn't necessarily fall with what I would have labeled. And yet it was something I had never experienced before. It was an idea I had never thought of before. And it really does make a lot of sense. It's going to take me a while to understand it fully, to anchor it, and then to start applying it. But it does make a lot of sense to me. It's the very yin yang kind of idea. Again, another example of how this stuff, there's nothing new here. This is
Right.
very, very old stuff. It is just our Western culture has not been in touch with this information for quite a long time. And I think that's a big part of the awakening, is more and more people are rediscovering a lot of these concepts, and they're beginning to recognize the depth of the I don't want to say the origin, but the depth of their longevity with these concepts, that this is not new stuff, that people are not necessarily experts in them, and yet we live them and do them all the time.
Right on. Okay, so again, I don't think we'll go too much into that. We'll do that more on the other one, when we have the actual one that's on law.
Okay, and we did want to mention that we've included references as to where you can find these, both the Hermetic Laws, the Kabbalion Laws. And I think, didn't you, Michelle, tell me that you put some resources up here where they could actually get PDF copies of it, so you didn't have to purchase the books. You could print them out if you had that kind of access to printing.
Yes.
That's what I did. I printed out the Kabbalion stuff myself from at work, and have been reading them and just love it.
Well, the Kabbalion's not on here. And I
Okay.
think when we do the next one, we'll put that up there, so people that are really interested in that can really get that book. These
Okay.
are just the law of attraction books that are, famous now, that kind of stuff that people refer to, like The Secret and Think and Grow Rich, and, You Can Heal Your Life. So yes, those are on there, and those will be available on the Facebook page and my WordPress page, and another Facebook page of the Healing Haven.
Okay, and in the meantime, the way I found it, I just typed in the Kabbalion, I did a Google search, and when I saw that there was a PDF, I printed it out.
Nice.
So it's like, I don't know that there's a website. You also can
Pretty
purchase
simple.
a book. Yeah, I only buy books, used books anymore, because I'm a bookaholic. So I'm trying to monitor my obsession. And there are a couple of book sites that you can buy used books. And I want to say, even the used books, this is such old concepts, they're like $7 or $8.
Awesome.
So very, very affordable access to materials.
Okay. So I think that we threw in some experiences that we had in life, but on our next agenda, it is to discuss a little bit about what this kind of means to our life now and what's going on with the state of affairs where we are in the world right now and how we feel about that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute, and then we can kind of talk about what the law of attraction could do right now for us in the situation that we are. If we are not out there protesting, if we are not out there, um, you know, whatever, on the front lines, if we are on the front lines, how we can support one another, all of that kind of stuff.
Well, and I think it's really important that if you join the collective energy, whether you're pro or against, you're adding your energy to a collective body in whatever your protest is or your support is. Um, you're adding your energy to that, and so you're. Um, is it? And tell me if I'm wrong here, but does that not exponentially strengthen the energetic wave that goes out when you join your vibration with others' vibrations?
Definitely. You know, it balances out and all that kind of stuff with the laws and everything like that. But yes, like as you join with like-minded people, and especially in ways that are more peaceful, loving, compassionate, and unifying, that's when things really blossom exponentially, get bigger, more powerful, more waves, more rhythm. The rhythm gets bigger in those ways, and therefore a bigger uh, wash or result happens from that.
And so it's true in the negative as well. So you see the protesters who are peacefully protesting, then you see the people who are rioting. That's that angry piece of the collective who are protesting, and then you see the looting. Each one of those is like in my mind, those are almost separate vibrational levels. And
Mm.
when you choose to join whichever one of those levels you choose to join, it empowers that group. One of the beautiful things that we didn't mention, it was in the book Power versus Force, that the higher you're vibrating, the greater your impact in vibrationally. So the lower vibrations have less impact than the higher vibrations do. And again, another place to use the law of attraction to raise your vibration as high as you can, and then work from that space as opposed to working from the lower vibrations. And that's what I see finally happening here. People are joining forces, and we have a lot more peaceful protest. We have a lot more people finally speaking up, and the protests don't seem to be stopping like they've done when we went through it in the 60s. I don't know how long it went on, probably months. Um, but this does feel different. It does feel more powerful. The wave feels stronger to me than it did in the 60s.
Excellent. Excellent. That's beautiful. And I think it's because we are also more unified. I think in the 60s, it was very polarized as far as it goes. Like people, I really feel like a majority of people are very tired of the inconsistencies, the atrocities, the inequality, the ridiculousness of treating somebody different and not giving them the same experiences or opportunities because of melanin. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
I think we have evolved to a point where this is just ridiculous now. And the people that are holding that are mostly people that feel like they are in power or have something to lose. Um, but I don't want to get all political and
Political.
stuff. It's more about just in the law of attraction that when we can hold, when we go to a protest or when we go and feel like we want to do something, say something, stand for something, talk to our family members about what we're feeling, or, maybe they're saying stuff that we're not agreeing with or whatever, is in that law of attraction before you go into maybe one of those conversations, or before you go to the protest or these kind of things, is take an assessment of where you're at. How are you feeling at this moment? What is the outcome that you're looking for? What is the desired response? What is the feeling that you want to cultivate? What is the experience you want to cultivate? What is the interactions that you want to cultivate? What are the results that you want to cultivate? So just in those ways, taking moments to either write them down, visualize them, think about them, meditate on them, talk to others about that, before you go, like a little pep talk with somebody else, or, these kind of things to support and make stronger your feelings and thoughts and wants of experience.
So setting your intention for that particular event, which you're
Yes.
hoping to do. And I wanted to go back to the polarization, because if you do go back to the 60s, our country was very, very polarized. But if you look right back to before the coronavirus, we were equally polarized. And you're really beginning to see a noticeable shift already. And I'm just hoping it's more sustainable this time around, so that we don't have to go through this anymore, that this will anchor and we can finally really move on and really heal from this.
Right on. I guess we'll go into some of the possible things that you can do, practices that you might find that are helpful to create in your world, that allow for buoyancy, consistency, and support to anchor, if you will, the law of attraction. And like you said in the beginning, looking at things differently, not so much trying to attract a new job or a new house or a new lover, but more of experiences, quality of experiences, such as a loving exchange, a peaceful exchange, a compassionate exchange, a non-fearful exchange. And that's, I guess, the flavor of what we're trying to cultivate and talk about, is more of those kind of things, rather than we're trying to, manifest a new car, a new job. So,
Right. And one of the phrases I'm using a lot is with grace and ease, because
oh
my
yeah.
struggle has been very bumpy, and it's like you hit a speed bump and then you speed back up and you got to slow down for the next speed bump. And I would like my path to be a little smoother, a little less. I'm not saying I'm not going to expect challenges, because for me, I seem to only grow when I have a challenge to overcome. Years ago, I explained it as a rubber band. A rubber band doesn't work unless you stretch it beyond its capacity. And it's when it stretches back to its original form that it's useful. And so my experience has been, and I know it hasn't been true for everybody, I'm very jealous, is that I don't seem to pay attention unless I'm being knocked upside the head with a 2x4. And so I would like that 2x4 to maybe be a pool noodle, a little softer, a
Yes.
little less, don't crack my skull open, just bunk me in the head a little bit. And I do see that happening a little bit more and more. So I know that I'm growing in that area. And that is something that I'm trying to attract to me too. I'm still going to have my lessons. I just would like them to be to have this process be a little bit more graceful, a little bit easier.
And because you're verbalizing it too, that lets you know where you are and where you're going, which is a lovely thing with that as well.
Let's
Yes.
have more of that.
Yes. Yes. I guess I'm just going to run through these checklists, and if you feel so inclined to talk about them or make a comment or something like that, please do. But I am just going to run down this checklist. So what you can do to cultivate what you're looking at in the law of attraction is to make a list of desires, no matter how silly, small, or petty. And desires in this way can, be in many different kinds of ideas. Assess how many items are physical, mental, emotional, and separate them accordingly. And then assess where you are in getting those things met. How far away is the idea of peace or the new car? Ask yourself or meditate on what it will take to bring that into your life. And yeah, watch videos of people experiencing emotions that you wish to cultivate. Play the solfeggio and frequency and binaural beats that align with those kind of emotions and feelings. Practice automatic writing or automatic drawing to take a temperature of where you are or what's being focused on in your subconscious. That's a good entryway to figure out what's going on. And you can make a vision board, daily meditation practice, mantra creations, journaling, and daydream practices to achieve those manifestations as well. And those are just a few things that you can do.
There was something that you said, and I've forgotten what it is now. But I did want to say, we don't think there's anything wrong with trying to manifest a new car. We don't think there's anything wrong with trying to manifest a larger income. There's nothing wrong with that. We all want those things too. So I'm hoping that it's not coming across as we think if you're interested in worldly things that you're not very spiritual. No, we're human beings. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, and why shouldn't this journey be comfortable? We're just saying there's more to that than just that. And so I don't know why, but I felt like I needed to say that.
Sure. Probably because I used the word petty
Oh,
in the idea of whatever you want to desire, whatever you want to manifest, no matter how petty. And what I mean by that is, however you judge it, like if you want to manifest more peace in your life and you're like, yeah, but that's never going to happen because I'm in this relationship where this person, manifest it anyway. Things change, things move, things will do what they have to do. And who's to say that the person that you're living with that may not be in that mindset now doesn't change because you change? And of course, again, just like Matt Kahn says, if you're in an abusive relationship, that's a completely different standpoint. But
yeah.
what I mean is, if it's, everyday life and people have challenges and difficulties and whatever, and if it's like that and you're being like, yeah, that'll never change. I've been in this marriage for 40 years and, this person's always been that way, or, whatever, you never know. So no matter how much you judge whatever you want, write it down anyway. And as you go through the process of manifesting it, thinking about it, feeling into it, being with it, instead of the idea that you're never going to get it anyway, so you never even contemplate the idea that that could happen, then you don't really even know if it's actually something that you'll even enjoy or want. And that could change at any time too. So as you explore the idea of what you want, what it feels like, how you want it in your life, like today you might really really want a new car, but what you really want is something just fucking reliable. Sorry. Something that
Okay.
is just something that gets you from point A to point B. And you don't really want a new car, but you want something that you don't have to fix all the time. And that might be, again, like when we talk about law of attraction, there is a thing about what you are capable of manifesting. So it's not exactly like anybody in the world could manifest a mansion. Anybody in the world could manifest, peace. No, it's where you are on the spectrum and where you are able to cultivate. And if you cannot, if you don't even know what peace looks like, my friends, then you can't manifest it. And that's why at this time when we're looking at all this turmoil and stuff, and what does it look like to be a cohesive community? What does it look like to even talk with your neighbor in a friendly way? Most of us have a very independent nature. By our culture in America, we are very independent and very isolated and very separatist. So if we're going to think that tomorrow we're going to wake up and everybody's going to be all neighborly and everybody's going to be together, I don't think that is something that really is a truth, I think in each individual experience, you can manifest more and more and more of that in your life. But as far as the idea that, some fairy dust is going to be sprinkled and we're all going to be into living as a communal existence, I don't, that's not possible. Even though you in your world might really want that, and you might feel very passionate about that, and you might really know what that feels like. Man, you were in a commune in the 60s and it was awesome, and this is how it felt, and that's great. But there's also the collective experience that we're witnessing as well, and what they're feeling and doing. And really the only influence that you have is really your own experience. But like we said, the more of us that want to cultivate that come together to cultivate that, the bigger the wave will be to open up others to eventually have that experience.
So one of the things I'm hearing you say is that as you work to manifest and as you work to raise your vibration, those things happen in increments. You cannot leapfrog from one low level to a mid or high level. You have to do it in increments. And I think Abraham Hicks talks about when you're trying to change your, I don't say your feeling, your emotion, your thought pattern when you're down and depressed, for example. You don't jump from depressed to joy. You jump from something that feels better than depression, acceptance, something that feels better than acceptance. I'm hopeful, something that feels better than hopeful. I'm positive. And you do it gradually through steps. And a lot of people, I think, when they read The Secret and saw the movie and some of the other people who talk about law of attraction, I think they miss kind of talking about that piece. And I think it's a pretty important piece.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, yes, there are infinite possibilities in the world, but you may not be able to manifest that because you're not ready for it yet.
Right. And I know that people don't like the idea of limitation and things like that, especially in this country. But it's just a truth. It's just a truth that you, like you say, and you can jump. I mean, there's been a whole wave of people, getting to spiritual enlightenment through psychedelics and chemicals and these kind of things. And that is possible. The thing is there's a heck of a counterforce that comes with that as well. And so you might have leapt forward, but you do a lot of fumbling and confusion on your way to getting there. Whereas
Right.
if the being is just consistent, like kind of like a fitness program or whatever, and you do, sit-ups every day, it might be a little trudgy and it might be, oh God, I have to do this again. But the result is more consistent and more sustaining. So, I mean, however you want to get there, that's how you get there, and it's all good. The thing is just to keep in mind, like you say, don't get frustrated with the fact that, the peace isn't happening tomorrow because you spent all day focusing on it today. It doesn't work like that. It's more of a gradual, washing away of the stone, getting into the rhythm, establishing vibration. And vibration and rhythm don't get established with two notes. It's a symphony. And through that symphony is life experience. It's time. It's, how we work it. So, yeah.
And on that note, since you mentioned time, we are at our time of 30 minutes. So I would like to thank everybody who's going to listen to this, because right now it's Michelle and I. And we're very, very grateful to have the opportunity to do this, to present this, to offer this, to have you come into our community and to enrich our communities, and for us to be able to join yours. Lord knows I can use that. And so we are very, very excited to be able to look back on this first podcast and see how we've grown over time. So we expect to do a second podcast in a couple of weeks, because we will do it on a Tuesday. We don't know how many people will be joining us because of the day of the week and work patterns. We don't know if it'll just be a podcast that we put up or whether people will be joining us, but you can join us on the private group. You can send us a request on the private group of Experiencing the Divine. and we will respond to that. We will post a handout there. We will post a handout on each of our own business Facebook pages. Michelle, yours is, so you want to give the name of it again, your Facebook work page?
Oh, the Healing Haven.
Okay, and mine is Logical Solutions Life Coaching. And then Michelle also has a website. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, it's a WordPress website. I think it's crap. Spiritual. Well, it says Center Mind Therapies, so I guess you look under Center Mind Therapies WordPress.
And then each of us has a Instagram account. Mine is a personal one, so I don't know if I will. I may try to upload this information or the link, but I don't think I'm going to upload the document to there.
Right on.
And so Michelle also has yours is meant Centered Mind Therapies.
I
Is your
think it
Instagram?
is. Yeah, I think it
Okay.
is. Yeah.
And
And
mine
I
is
have,
just. Go ahead.
and I have Twitter, Michelle Meadows.
Okay, and I'm off Twitter. It was too much for me. So, with that, we would like to send you blessings and extend our deepest gratitude to you for joining us, to all the beings on the other side who are here with us and who have assisted us today in making this work. Always want to be grateful to our guides, because without the good Lord, my guides have been patient. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to get to the other side, meet them, and thank them. So, thank you very much. And we will see you soon.
Righty. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.